Hello dear friends, Fisher here. Today we continue with our beautiful stories, The Power of the Spirit by ALFRED, also known as Freddie in the book. And today Bruno talking to Freddie's auntie and then saying farewell to her, and he said, "Well then, auntie, have a good journey, and I will see you again in Klagenfurt 14 days from now." And then the auntie shook her head and said, "Oh, unfortunately, it is not possible for us to drive to Klagenfurt this time. You see, my niece, whose home is in Slovakia, has got a visa to visit to Gospach for precisely this time, and so we won't see you, Mr. Groning." And Bruno said, and laughed, "And you should never commit yourself so irrevocably, auntie. Just hand it over to God's guidance and never completely close the door. But always leave a crack open. God knows the best. Only a strict no prevents all possibilities. So a gap. Only a little gap. Don't forget this, auntie. Promise?" And then later on, and after a long journey, and after a few days, and then Freddie's auntie received a message from her niece, and then her niece said, "Oh, my visa is not granted, so I won't come to Austria." And then, well, in that case, all of them, Freddie and Lilo and Freddie's auntie, drove to Klagenfurt. And when Bruno saw them, and with a smile, "Ah, so you came then. It pays off, you see, if one doesn't make any final decisions, for only so is God's help possible. Take carefully note of this, for the future too. A no that is spoken right away can prevent many things, very often the good as well, and therefore every person should always sleep on it for one night before they set the rails in the final position through the yes or no. This time you have done the right thing, but see to it that you always heed your inner voice, and that no self-interested or self-seeking people lead you away from the good, divine path." A little story here, dear friend, is very important. And then for us, always leave a little crack open for God's intervention. And it's always like this, because we have the free will, and then God is respect our free will. If we say yes or no to anything, and then basically we close the door to all the possibilities. If anything we are not sure, as what Bruno said, always sleep on it. You're not sure you should go to overseas and have a trip, or you're not sure that you should buy a car or buy a house, or the big decisions especially, sleep on it and always follow your inner voice. What do you feel? Not dictated by your logic, left brain, but what do you feel? Your inner voice. Sometimes the things seemingly so right to our logic, but we just don't feel well. I know as a man I tend to use my logical brain, but logic only work on the perceived image, which is in a way, logic only work inside the box. So basically, we know within our knowledge, within our knowing, and that's where the knowledge works. So beyond our knowledge, our thinking outside the boxes, and knowledge cannot work. So basically, basic logic cannot work. And then if you know, like driving around town, and then you have you've been to many suburbs, And then you can use your logic to dictate, okay, so whether I'm driving from the north to south and in which routes and I can go, so the logic will do. And then, but if you travel to a foreign country and then you have no knowledge or very little about it, so you just have to go along with the flow, the natural flow, follow your inner voice, follow your common sense, because logic does not dictate in that case, because you have a little or no knowledge of the foreign country you're going to. You don't know when you're going to expect and what you expect, what people you're going to expect. So in that case, and then as I came to Australia like in many years ago, so I just be open to all the possibilities, and the only thing I knew, and now I need to take flight to Australia. And then how do I live in Australia? How do I find a job? And then how do I do my studies? I have no knowledge about it. So my logic works nothing, because it knows almost nothing about the unknown worlds to me. So as Bruno said, always before we make our final decisions, and then don't straight away say a big yes or no, especially no. So we close the door to all the good possibilities and then the good help from the God or from other people. So be open, dear friends, be open to all the new possibilities and then the good, and also follow our inner voice and not be led away by the self-interested and the self-seeking people. And we should always stay in our divine path. I wish you have a good day and God bless.